The island stood alone, a jagged tooth in a hungry sea. It was a place of harsh beauty, where the wind howled like a banshee and the waves crashed against the rocks with a fury that spoke of ancient, unyielding power. Atop the highest point of the island, clinging to the cliff face like a barnacle, stood the lighthouse. For 40 years it had been Elias's world. Elias had come to the island as a young man. He had been drawn to the solitude, to the challenge of pitting himself against the elements. The lighthouse, with its steady beam cutting through the darkness, had seemed like a noble calling. He had kept the light burning, a beacon of hope for sailors lost in the storm-tossed sea. He had measured his life in the slow, steady rhythm of the waves, the waxing and waning of the moon. He had heard the stories, of course, whispers of the island's dark past, of shipwrecks and disappearances, of strange lights seen dancing on the water, but Elias was a practical man, a man of the sea, not given to flights of fancy. He dismissed the stories as the ramblings of superstitious fishermen. He had never seen anything on the island that could not be explained by the wind and the waves until now. The islanders spoke in hushed tones they always had when it came to the lighthouse and the man who inhabited it. The island, they said, was a place of sorrow, a place where the veil between this world and the next was thin. They spoke of a darkness that clung to the rocks, a darkness that whispered in the wind. Elias had scoffed at their tales. He had seen nothing but the beauty of the island, the way the sun turned the sea into a sheet of molten gold, the way the stars blazed in the night sky with an intensity unknown in the city. But the stories had a way of worming their way into his mind. Lately, the whispers had grown louder. The islanders spoke of monstrous storms brewing on the horizon, storms the likes of which they had never seen. They said the sea was restless, as if something slumbered beneath its depths, something ancient and evil, and it was stirring. Elias had felt it too, a change in the air, a heaviness that pressed down on him like a shroud. The storms began slowly at first, a gathering of clouds on the horizon, a rising wind that whipped the sea into a frenzy. But soon they escalated into something monstrous. The waves became towering walls of water, crashing against the rocks with a force that shook the lighthouse to its core. Elias was no stranger to storms. He'd weathered his fair share over the years, but these storms were different. They were relentless, unforgiving, and they were having a strange effect on him. He began to experience nightmares, vivid, terrifying dreams that left him gasping for air in the cold sweat of premonition. He dreamt of faceless creatures with glowing eyes that watched him from the shadows. He dreamt of being dragged down into the depths of the ocean, the pressure crushing him, the icy water filling his lungs. When he woke, the terror lingered. It clung to him like the salt spray that coated the windows of the lighthouse. The storm raged for days. The lighthouse groaned under the onslaught. Elias, trapped within its stone walls, felt a growing sense of dread. He tried to keep the light burning, but the wind was a howling beast, threatening to extinguish the flame with every gust. Then it happened, during the very height of the tempest. As lightning split the sky and thunder rattled his bones, Elias saw them. He had climbed to the top of the lighthouse to secure the lamp. Through the driving rain, he saw figures moving on the shore. Ghostly figures, their forms shifting and swirling in the wind. They were tall and gaunt, their eyes burning like hot coals. And then he heard it, a child's laughter, high-pitched and chilling, echoing through the storm. The sound sent a shiver down Elias's spine, a primal fear he had never known. He stumbled back from the edge, his heart pounding in his chest. The storm finally abated. The sun broke through the clouds, casting a pale light over the ravaged island. But for Elias, the world would never be the same. He emerged from the lighthouse a changed man. Gone was the sturdy, unflappable lighthouse keeper. In his place was a haunted figure, his eyes filled with a nameless fear, his shoulders stooped as if burdened by an invisible weight. He was withdrawn, his silence broken only by mumbled prayers and muttered curses. He no longer scoffed at the islanders' tales. He knew now that there was truth in their whispers. He had seen it with his own eyes. He had heard it with his own ears. Some whispered that he had gone mad, driven to the brink by the storm and the solitude. Others spoke of a darker possibility. They said that Elias had made a bargain during the storm. a pact with the creatures he had seen on the shore, a pact that had saved his life, but at a terrible cost. The lighthouse stood as it always had, a sentinel on the edge of the world. But it was different now, or perhaps it was Elias who was different. He kept the light burning, but his heart was no longer in it. He moved through the rooms like a ghost, his footsteps echoing in the silence. He swore he could hear whispers in the walls. The child's laughter, fainter now but no less chilling. He saw shadows moving at the edge of his vision, shapes that vanished when he turned to face them. The islanders avoided him now. They could see the madness in his eyes. They spoke of him in hushed tones, wondering what he had seen during the storm, what secrets he held. Elias did not tell them. He could not. The terror was too deep, too personal. He was trapped in his own personal nightmare, a nightmare from which there was no escape. The rumors about Elias and the storm swirled faster than the tides. Some whispered of ancient beings slumbering beneath the waves, awakened by the fury of the tempest. They spoke of a pact made on that hellish night, a pact that saved the lighthouse, but at a terrible price. They said Elias had offered more than just his sanity. They claimed he had bargained with the creatures of the deep, traded away his soul for the island's continued existence. The price? To forever serve as their warden, a prisoner in his own lighthouse, a witness to the horrors that lurked just beyond the veil of reality. The truth, like the shifting sands beneath the crashing waves, remained elusive. Yet, the islanders swore that on moonless nights, when the wind howled its mournful song, they could hear a faint laughter echoing from the lighthouse. It was not the joyous sound of a child, but something colder, more sinister. It sent chills down their spines and made them quicken their pace, eager to put distance between themselves and the haunted isle. The lighthouse still stood, a beacon in the night, a warning and a promise, but the island remained a place of unease. Ships gave it a wide berth, their captains heeding the whispers of the sea. The laughter was said to be fainter now, a whisper on the wind, but it was always there, a reminder of the darkness that lay beneath the surface. Elias was a ghost in his own right, a hollow shell of the man he had once been. He tended the light, a prisoner of his own making. The island was his and he was its, bound together by a pact made on a night of terror, a pact that would endure until the sea claimed them both. The lighthouse keeper's lament was a silent one, a tale whispered on the wind, a warning carried on the waves, a chilling reminder that some places are best left undisturbed, for they hold secrets best left buried beneath the waves.